Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching TVP World Talks. Poland's healthcare system is facing an unexpected reappearance of a somewhat forgotten disease. Many would agree an outbreak of cholera would look extremely bad on any report, and so even the isolated case of the unwelcome germ is treated very seriously. How did cholera, an infection associated mostly with other parts of the globe, make its way into Poland, and what danger does it pose? Joining us now is Bożena Walewska-Zielecka, member of the Scientific Council at Medicover. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So first, let's engage in rumor control. How dangerous is this situation? Because people who actually don't know the facts might think that we're on the cusp of another pandemic or something like that, which is not the case.
No, it's not the case. Just a single case of cholera. Well, it still has to be confirmed. Confirmed by laboratories, not only for the presence of bacteria itself, because we have only DNA, and DNA says that the bacteria is present, dead or alive, and then we need to discover or confirm the presence of toxin, which is more important in this case. However, single cause is not the danger, and as you have heard before, our sanitary inspectorate undertook the very professional measures to prevent the spread of the disease, which is most important to settle the isolation and observation of all people who potentially could acquire the disease from this patient. Of course, we still do not know where it came from, the disease in this patient. So it's only presumption, and of course the investigation is required in this case. As you said before, the bacteria could come from, I would say, everywhere. Everywhere
what do you mean by saying everywhere? Because it is often thought that this bacterium is mostly acquired through contact with contaminated water, and so we tend to associate this with countries which still do not have the sanitary infrastructure capable of ensuring that contaminated water is not present in places where people actually use that water for bathing or drinking. But what other ways could this bacterium have made its way into our vicinity, so to say?
Yeah, so of course it's first this water, and the transmission is called fecal oral. That means it is from water, but the bacteria entered the water with the contaminated stool of any other person, and of course it is transmitted by either eating undercooked or raw food, or drinking contaminated water. So we cannot tell whether this bacteria was acquired from Polish waters, which are actually should be a so-called breakage estuaries. This is the place where the river water mixed with sea water, so it's a little bit salty, and it is warm, so the bacteria can develop. But definitely it came from another person. So that's why it is so important to investigate all the contacts of this lady. We should remember that cholera itself is not only the severe disease. There are persons who are who suffer from mild gastroenteritis, that means mild diarrhea, and even do not come to seek the doctor, or there are patients who are so-called carriers layers of the bacteria, which are not detected, and they are not even do not need to be treated, because then they are not very dangerous in the spread of the bacteria. So it won't be that easy to determine where the bacteria came from, or even impossible.
And just to clarify, can this disease jump from person to person without, you know, the intermediation of contaminated water sources or anything like that?
No. So, well, that depends what we understand by definition of jumping. It is definitely by, as I said, fecal oral. That means the stool of the diseased person has to enter our either water or food, and then if bacteria is not treated properly by high temperature, for example, then it comes to another person. So it's the route is called fecal oral.
So just to clarify, because immediately people will start thinking about the coronavirus, for example, there is no way that just by breathing the same air you could actually contract that disease.
No, because then this by jumping, you probably understood the air. Yes, the transmission of the disease by air, which is not the case.
What about contaminated surfaces?
It's only, unfortunately, it's only by touching the food or contaminating the water. So whatever we eat or drink, we can acquire the infection.
And if a surface is contaminated, for example, through the lack of hygiene, and then another person touches it, and again, through the lack of hygiene, so this is a possibility as well?
Yes, this is the possibility as well, because touching your mouth is the very good way of transmitting the bacteria.
So that's why we actually decided to quarantine a couple of dozen people who might have come into contact with the patient, right?
With the patient, yes, that's true. But again, we do not know where the patient acquired the infection from.
And what would be the most likely vector for the disease to have made its way into Poland originally? So the person who actually carried it and later on possibly released it one way or another into the environment, so that another person later on contracted the germ.
Yes, it is possible, of course, and we cannot exclude this, but these are presumptions. Well, we have, of course, it depends on the time of the contact. It depends whether that was the person or whether, because it could be the tourist coming back from holidays from Asia, for example, and bringing this bacteria with him or her to Poland, not being or having very, very mild diarrhea, even didn't imagine that it could be cholera as the disease, as the reason. So this person could come into contact with this lady, and then by, as I said, not by coughing, but by touching the surfaces, or by eating or drinking contaminated food, it could come into it could cause the disease in this lady.
You've mentioned contaminated food. So apart from a person basically traveling to a country where cholera is still present on a regular basis and then coming back to Poland, spreading that disease, again, one way or another, could it also be the case of lack of food safety? So essentially, some company actually failing to comply with the necessary protocols, and thus the bacteria being spread through foodstuffs. Could this still be the case?
I would hardly suspect such situation, as the bacteria is not living on the surfaces forever. So it's not. It all depends on of course, on the quality of transport, on the quality of food safety generally. But frankly saying, I would doubt it as the source of disease.
So now,
it's only presumption, yes, as we say. So we have to remember, we didn't have this disease for so many years in Poland. There was the single case in 2019. There is a single case in 2005.
So no need to panic, right?
Absolutely no need to panic. As we heard before, our sanitary inspectorate is following the persons. We have to remember that the incubation period of this disease is rather short. So it's like hours up to 5 days and 2-3 days at average. So the symptoms should occur rather quickly.
And just to conclude our conversation, we still have about 1 minute. What symptoms should we be watching out for? And of course, if we're not certain, in what cases should we try to consult a health professional, just to make sure?
Just to make sure that usually, as I said, that the cholera can be even asymptomatic. But if we are talking about symptoms, then of course, watery diarrhea in a febrile person. That means the body temperature is normal or very, very slightly increased. And then the diarrhea is really severe. So severe we never had it before. The volume of stool can be even 30 liters per day in this person. So it's really very dramatic, I would say.
And the risk of dehydration, right? We need to watch out for
yes,
dehydration in that case.
Well, that comes very quickly, unfortunately. It comes very quickly because when we lose so much water, it's hours that we can be in a very severe state. So really, when this watery, we call those stools rice water stools. They are just like water, a little bit whitish, and they do not resemble even any kind of stool that we have ever seen. So then we have to go to the infectious diseases hospital if possible, and if not, we have to first of all go to the doctor, to the nearest facility.
And of course, keeping electrolytes on hand would be recommended, even if it's not cholera, right?
Yes, even if it's not cholera, the electrolytes and water supply we should drink as much as possible, because sometimes it is enough to keep patient safe, but normally it requires intravenous infusions. So that's why, and the reason for deterioration is dehydration, not the infection of bacteria itself. Because the dehydration is caused by toxin, not by bacteria. So antibiotic, the therapy is a secondary. Second row, second in line. The most important is rehydration of the patient.
Staying hydrated is always important in the summer, even if an infectious disease is not involved. Bożena Walewska-Zielecka was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please do stay with us.